Buckle in, sports fans. You're listening to The William Haynes Show. The program will be starting in just a couple of minutes, so grab your popcorn and get ready to enjoy the show. While you're waiting, make sure you're following us on social media at WHBC Stream and staying tuned to WHBCStream.com. We're so glad to have you today on the program, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line on Twitter or call the show 352-639-0036. And thanks again for tuning in.
HBC, the Rays are in the World Series. It is a good evening to you, and how you be? William Haynes here. You there, here on this Monday night at 9:07 on the William Haynes Show, live from the WHBC studio in Tallahassee, Florida. So much to discuss tonight. Of course, we have to talk Game 7 of the ALCS. The Rays 4-2 over the Astros, win only the second American League pennant in franchise history, and advance to the 2020 World Series to face off against the Los Angeles Dodgers, who themselves had to play a Game 7 against the Atlanta Braves. They came back from a 3-1 deficit, so a little bit of a two, I guess, sides of the same coin. We know the Rays had a 3-10 lead in the ALCS and almost blew it. We all know it was, are the Astros going to be the 2004 Red Sox? Blah, blah, blah. The Rays put that to bed pretty early. We know the first inning home run from Arozarena, and the Rays never looked back. It was Charlie Morton pitching fantastically, basically getting 6 innings in just about 65 pitches, which is absolutely insane, and Cash pulls him a little early for matchups, and it ends up working out just fine in a pivotal Game 7. Who would have guessed that the Rays would have only used 3 pitchers in a game? Really bizarre stuff, but this Rays team, I think it transitions on the fly. It's a new team every day. I mean, they stick to the same identity, but I mean, this when you look back to 2018, when obviously this run got started, and if the Rays go on to win the World Series, and knock on the wood there, and of course the Moneyball 2 is made about this team, as it rightfully should be. You start obviously in 2018 and the things that they did with the pitching, the advent of the opener, and really putting bullpenning front and center stage in Major League Baseball, not something that's just used, in Dominican Winter League or international play. It's something that can work in Major League Baseball and all that. So with all the matchups and stuff, the fact that they use only three pitchers in Game 7, they get 5 2/3 from Morton, 2 from Anderson, which is a nice little development there, although he ran into a bit of trouble. And then an inning and a third from Peter Fairbanks. What if I had told you when the Rays acquired Peter Fairbanks for, I would say, a pretty top infield prospect, Nick Solak, that, and including his struggles with the Rays in 2019, if I had told you that he would be closing out the American League pennant, I'm not going to make the comparison to David Price because they're two completely different players, and one's a reliever and one really obviously ended up being a starter. But again, that four out save in Game 7 of the ALCS, man, the Rays just It's always close. They always have us on the edge of our seat, and I guess it was good that we could all exhale. The first pitch from Lance McCullers Jr., it ran into Manny Margot, who led off and hit him. And at that point, I think we all kind of knew how the game was going to go. Lance McCullers had pitched 7 innings of really just one earned run in his other start in this series. So the fact that, he puts Margot on, and then Arozarena gives him, for whatever reason, I believe it was a fastball, and he takes him all the way to right center. It makes it 2-0. And then in the second, it was Big Z. Zunino bomb to make it 3-0. I mean, we knew it was over at that point, and Charlie Morton was, putting him up and setting him back down. He retired at one point, 14 batters in a row. And I think that was ultimately the story. If it had not been for just kind of the unreal nature of what Arozarena is doing in this postseason, I think it would have been Charlie Morton maybe to get the ALCS MVP. Not that matters too much, and obviously Arozarena deserved it, and rightfully so. He's definitely the big story of the postseason. I was watching, I guess, the game 1 of the Monday Night Football doubleheader just because of the rescheduling. It was the Bills and the Chiefs, and Joe Buck calling the game because it was on Fox, and Joe Buck, I personally kind of like Joe Buck, but I know most people don't. So I guess unfortunately for you guys, Joe Buck will be calling the World Series on Fox, and they did the little spot for it, to preview Game 1 tomorrow night, by the way, which is at 8:00. It'll be Glasnow v. Kershaw, and we'll preview that later in the program. But it was, Randy Arozarena and the Tampa Bay Rays taking on Mookie Betts and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Like, I think, the baseball wise guys knew that Arozarena was a nice player. I don't want to go too far with this, but I mean, we remember when, we made that trade. It was trading Matthew Liberatore, who was one of our top pitching prospects, and he'll probably end up being really good as well, for Jose Martinez and Randy Arozarena from the St. Louis Cardinals. And some people thought that maybe Jose Martinez was the number one piece of that deal, as he was kind of the veteran and really was good at hitting against lefties. And then he doesn't even last, a couple months with the Rays. And then you're like, okay, why was this deal made? Arozarena comes onto the scene, and the rest is history. I believe at this point he's hit more home runs in the postseason than he has in the regular season. And I believe if this series, I don't know if it has to go 7 or something like that, because I remember in the regular season, Dave and Andy were talking about it on one of the broadcasts. If this World Series goes long, Randy Arozarena in 2020 would have played more postseason games than regular season games. And if that's not, if that's not just the most Rays thing that you've ever heard, I don't know what you would posit that would be. So, and again, the Rays would not be here in the World Series without Arozarena. And doesn't that just feel nice to say that the Rays are in the World Series? It's been 12 years. Just to give you a personal anecdote from my perspective, obviously 2008, where I grew up, I grew up maybe 20, 30 minutes from the Trop. So, in Pinellas County, which is, we don't have to drive across the bridge to get to it. It's right on that little peninsula, if you will. So obviously that community was really connected to the Rays. In 2008, I was 5 years old, so that wasn't really something that I really remembered all that well, as you can imagine. So me as a Rays fan, I kind of claim this is my first Rays World Series, and certainly not the same without all the fans and stuff. There will be fans for the World Series in Arlington, Texas, in the new Rangers ballpark. I think there's 28% capacity, about 10,000, 11,000. They've got all the rich people suites as well. So there will be fans, which I think, however you feel about that, with COVID and stuff aside, I think it's a nice optic to see on TV, just to see fans in the stands. And, of course, I think that was the main motivator for Major League Baseball was, the World Series, they live forever. And, when you play them years from now, do you want all those empty seats? They made the push to get some fans in there. I wish I could be going to some of those games. For someone like me, it's not worth it, of course. I mean, I think you're out, depending on where you want to sit, you're out like $400, $500, $600 for a seat. You have to buy them in sets of 4, but I've seen people like Rays fans and, Atlanta Braves fans selling their tickets. So that way you can get one instead of the set of 4. But getting all the way out to Texas, it's a pain. But from what I've gathered, it will obviously probably be, I would imagine, like 70% Dodger fans, just based on just that would make most sense. But it looks like the Rays will be pretty decently represented there in Arlington. Again, game 1 is tomorrow. All the games will be at like 8:08, 8:09. So first pitch probably more towards like 8:15, just because of Fox, and it's going to be a little bit different. I would imagine like more commercial breaks than you're used to, that kind of stuff. And this segues me into my next point. It'll be Joe Buck and John Smoltz, I believe is his name. He was a pitcher for the Atlanta Braves, doing the telecasts on Fox. And I know a lot of people are against them. I listened a little bit to the NLCS that they called. It was the Dodgers and Braves series. It's not a great listen for most people, and I can't really argue with you there. So I will give you, I don't know, an insider tip, whatever you want to say. Dave Wills and Andy Freed, they work for Rays Radio 620 WDAE. It's the radio station in the Tampa Bay area. And of course they cover, or that station basically holds all the Rays games. Obviously, if you live in the Tampa Bay market, it's easier for you to get access. But if you don't, like I do, I don't live in that market anymore, obviously in Tallahassee. But if you go in the MLB app, I'll actually walk you through it right now. And it's quite easy, and I've been doing this throughout the postseason because it's no fun to listen to national baseball announcers call Rays games when they don't know a darn thing about the team. So the radio guys, I don't know, Dave and Andy, I think, are some of the best, or I honestly think they were the best radio pairing in the MLB. So take that with what you will. So if you download the MLB app and you open it, in the top right-hand corner, it's a headphones icon. You just click on that. You have to, I don't know. I think it's like $2 or $3 a month, what have you. So hopefully if you can pay for that, and then you go on there basically as the game starts, and you can stream it. And then if you want to get it synced up with your TV, you can actually, since it's the radio stream is being broadcasted through your phone instead of on an actual radio, you can pause the radio feed and allow the TV to catch up with it. What I do is I just wait. Obviously the radio is probably going to be ahead of the TV, so you wait for the pop of the mitt on the pitch. You pause it as soon as you hear the pop of the mitt, and then you watch the TV, and then when you see the ball go in the mitt, then you press resume on the radio broadcast, and it's basically like Dave and Andy are calling the game live, and you can just listen to it that way. I found that to be an extremely rewarding experience. Obviously, they know a lot about the Rays. They've been calling basically every Rays game since 2005, if you're not familiar with what they do. So they do really good work, and that would be my recommendation to all of you if you're interested in doing that, because I already know, the Rays Discord, whatever, Rays fans on the social medias, I know they're going to be upset with Joe Buck, because I know in the Dodgers-Braves series, he got criticized for being pro-Dodgers. How do you think he's going to be calling a series that has the Los Angeles Dodgers in the Tampa Bay Rays? Which one do you think he's going to be more, I guess, siding in favor of? So, and it's the same thing all the time with the Rays. We're just kind of underappreciated and whatnot. So that would just be my tip to all of you. If you can go out and do that, if you have access to all those things, it's definitely the right way to go. With that being said, we're going to take a short break. I'll get the link back out there on all the social medias. If I hadn't said it already, the number to call the line is now open. To call the William Haynes Show, it is 877-566-1020. You want to call, you want to talk Game 7. We'll be talking a little bit about that more. And then once we're done with that, we will preview not just Game 1 of the World Series tomorrow, but the entirety of it. Let you know kind of what the Dodgers are going to throw our way. And with that being said, we're going to take a couple minutes break and be right back. Again, number to call the show, a line open for you, 877-566-1020. We'll be back in a minute.
Hey, sports fans! William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 352-639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBC Stream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCstream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
Sports Radio 1019 FM. Sports Radio 636. Sports Radio
HBC. And at 9:21, we are back on the William Haynes Show again one more time. The number to call the program is 877-566-1020 with you for about another 45 minutes or so. We're not on the air. The night that the Rays clinched the pennant was Saturday night, so we're here tonight to tell you about all that and then preview not just Game 1 of the World Series, but the series as a whole, however long it may go. So, of course, we will start with Game 7. Just at the stage, I mean, of course, you watched, you were following, you know what happened, but it was the Rays taking a 3-0 lead. Really, the Rays, I think, catching a lot of breaks. They were lucky. If it obviously wasn't for Rosarena, the Rays never would have won this series to begin with, because of really how bad the offense was more times than not over the course of this series. We'll always remember the Jose Altuve errors in, what was it, games 2 and 3, I believe, that allowed the Rays to get on that early series lead. And then the Astros stormed back. They took Game 4, I believe. I don't recall which one that was. I think Game 5 was the one where Adames almost hit a game-tying home run. It was a double, and they ended up leaving him the tying run 90 feet away at the end of the game. And then the next game, I believe, or somewhere in there mixed in, was the walk-off home run from Carlos Correa. So really, the Astros did all the momentum on their side going into Game 7. They had won 3 straight. The Rays had lost 3 straight. What were they going to do? And I previewed the show, and I don't know if I leaned one way or the other. Obviously, I don't know. I think we all were kind of cautiously optimistic about the Rays in Game 7. And the thing that I gave really as my point of, to kind of relax about it was Charlie Morton. He had a 5-inning scoreless start in his other start in this series, and then no one you'd rather have in a Game 7. I think he had a Game 7 win in the ALCS with the Astros. I think a Game 7 against the Yankees. He closed out the final 4 innings, I believe, of Game 7 of the World Series in 2017 against the LA Dodgers. So maybe we'll get to see maybe something like that again. But he's been there in the big moment. He's had success. He's 36 years old. I mean, he's a traveled veteran. I was looking at kind of his earlier career when he was with the Braves and the Pirates and then the Phillies and what he did with the Astros. I mean, it's been a long road for Charlie, and who knows what his future with this team will be. It was weird seeing him on the mound, thinking that could potentially be his last start in a Rays uniform if the Rays did not go on to win that game. Because just how much, I think, in just 2 seasons that he has meant to the Tampa Bay Rays. I think it's clear. I've heard like a lot of analysts, I think it was on the post-game show, whether it was Doug Wechter or whoever, saying that Charlie Morton is undoubtedly the best free agent signing the Rays have ever made, and I can't think of a whole lot. I can't recall if Carlos Pena was a free agent signing or if we traded for him. I'm just trying to kind of spitball ideas. But yeah, Charlie Morton really, I guess, was the only kind of quote-unquote big ticket free agent item the Rays have ever really acquired. They gave him, $15 million a year for 2 seasons. It's not very often that a guy closes out a World Series and signs with the Rays. That's that type of stuff doesn't happen. You'd think there was another team that would be vying for him that would offer him more money or whatever the case was. Because I think at this point, Charlie Morton is taking up their payroll this year would have been, I think, $28 million unadjusted, and Charlie Morton accounting with the $15 million for over 50% of the Rays payroll. So I mean that's a lot of money being spent on one guy. And he ends up going to the Rays. I think part of it was because his home is in Bradenton. It looks like that's where he's going to retire. So, and he said that this was his last contract. I think it's a team option for next year at $15 million if the Rays want to bring him back. I would imagine they'll probably opt out and try and maybe re-sign him to less money because I'm not sure with kind of the analytics that the Rays use their models. I'm not sure that Charlie Morton, as good as he is and how valuable he is in October, I don't know if that's worth $15 million when you could probably get 3 other guys for that much money at, a couple million apiece. I mean, we know they got Setsugo for basically $6 million a year. I mean, more signings like that. Well, we'll see how the Yoshi signing ends up working out. But the point about Morton, again, I'm glad that it wasn't his last start for more than just the Rays' sake. I mean, he really has meant a lot. I think he was one of 2 players on the Rays that did not appear on the injured list in 2019, and pretty much all of our starting pitchers went down except for him. And he gave us big innings every start. I mean, he would go 6 or whatever, or 7, would get pulled a little early because Cash was saving him for the postseason. And then they get into that wild card game, the first Rays postseason game, and at that point it was 6 years against the Oakland A's and 55,000 strong in Oakland, screaming, going crazy. And Morton, the calming presence that he was, gave him, I think, 5 innings of 1-run ball or whatever the case was, got out of a bases-loaded jam, and allowed Yandy Diaz and those guys to do their thing. And then the ALDS, the Rays dropped the first 2 games in Houston. They come back to the Trop, again, the first home game in 6 years since that ALDS against Boston in 2013. And with the Rays facing elimination, he pitches again 5 innings, a 1-run ball, a coming force, a 30-pitch first inning. We all remember that first inning home run to Altuve, all that stuff. But ultimately ended up getting the win in that one. And of course, the Rays don't end up winning that series, so that was the last we saw of them. And then coming into this year, did not appear in the wild card series. He would have been the Game 3 guy, but the Rays took care of business. Then in the ALDS, I believe, let me make sure I got this right. He started Game 3, and he was going to come in for Game 5, but they didn't need him to. And he got the win against Tanaka in that Game 3 against the Yankees, and that gave the Rays a 2-1 lead in a best-of-5, and they ended up winning that series in 5. And then we go to what he did in the ALCS, and he started that Game 2 and got the win, and also that Game 7, and really can't understate, I think, how much that he's meant to the organization, the past 2 seasons, that veteran leadership that he brings. He really is an interesting personality. If you've never done it, I would definitely recommend listening, and you'll get a good opportunity with him because of all the media attention that comes with being in the World Series. Maybe even playing it on some of the telecasts. Listen to one of his interviews. I mean, I've never really seen a professional athlete give such thoughtful answers. It seems like he kind of drones on sometimes. It can get a little it is kind of hard to listen to, but he puts so much thought into his responses to questions. He doesn't just give the same trained PR responses like Bill Belichick and guys in the Patriots, where they're like, "Oh, we're just gonna do our best and help the team win," blah blah blah. Like Charlie Morton will actually, he'll let you into his mind. He'll let you know how he feels, how he's thinking. His strategy, all that kind of stuff, and he's a really intelligent guy, a real crafty veteran, if you will, in all the right ways. I know that can sometimes mean more of a negative thing, but not in this case. So this I think will be remembered probably as a Randy Arozarena game, but to me, I will always remember it as the Charlie Morton game, because this really was the most Charlie Morton start I think that we've seen. I think the only thing that could have been, and he did get into a little bit of a jam, but if he had gotten in a bases-loaded jam and got out of it, that would have been the only thing that would have made it more authentic to Morton. But was just, again, he retired 14 in a row. in the middle of his start. He could have easily, I mean, there was a time, and I didn't think Cash was seriously going to consider it, but as far as pacing was concerned, if it was a manager that was more aggressive about leaving starters in, I was like, oh crap, Charlie Morton is going to go complete game. The Rays haven't had a complete game from a pitcher, I think, since 2016 or 2017, and if it came in Game 7 of the ALCS, that would just be totally wild. And obviously he doesn't. He ends up getting 5 2/3, but just with the 66 pitches, he could have gone much deeper, and pretty much all of his pitches were for strikes. 66 pitches, 48 strikes. He faced 20 men through first pitch strike to 14 of them. So, in the not the biggest start of his life. Definitely that would have been his various World Series appearances, but I mean, the biggest Rays game since 2008, and Charlie Morton pitches an absolute gem. I guess I don't know if we'll mess. We can maybe. Well, I don't really want to do too much with the inning by inning because that's we're kind of looking forward now at this point. You know the lineup in the outfield from left to right. It was Arozarena in left. Kiermaier played center field. Margot in right. In the infield from third to first, it was Wendell at third. Adames at shortstop. Lau at second base. G-Man Choi at first. Zunino was the catcher. Austin Meadows the DH, and we know Meadows was the starting pitcher. And then the way the lineup looked, it was Margot to lead off, followed by Lau, Arozarena, Meadows cleaned up, followed by Choi, Adames, Wendell, Zunino, Kiermaier. And I actually want to pull up what I said on Twitter just to kind of put it in perspective, because at WHBC Stream, I definitely recommend you follow that page on Twitter, because I basically tweet out my thoughts about the lineup card, and then really the most important, when this show goes live, the link immediately goes out on that Twitter account. So that, just something to note. So the lineup card, I tweeted, I said I didn't love Margot at leadoff, but it gets Meadows out of there, who will actually bat cleanup, and then I detailed that with most cleanup hitters in the series didn't bat with men on base. Lau is back at the top, which moves Randy down to 3. Choi batting 5th would be huge if he comes up with Randy and Meadows on. I expect that may be the game. It didn't end up being the game. Adames Wendell is a perfect 6 and 7, as they both work really good at bats. I absolutely love the 8-9 as well. Putting Kevin Kiermaier at 9 allows him to get on with the order flipping over, which did not happen either. Funny enough. And then I said finally for the pitching, expect 5 innings of 1-run ball from Morton. That's who he is. We don't have anyone that can get the top guys out effectively, so this game will be won or lost with some cash gimmicks. Glasnow should be available. Win or lose, we'll talk to you Monday. So here we are. I guess looking back, not as accurate maybe as I thought. Morton ended up doing exactly kind of what I thought. 5 2/3 of no run ball, which is even better than I think we could have hoped for. The lineup, I guess, was maybe a bit controversial to people. I thought it was a really good lineup. I thought Margot at leadoff, I understand. I wouldn't, if I was the manager, I would never do that. I understand that, they like the matchups or whatever. He got the 3-run home run off of Lance McCullers Jr. in, what was that, Game 2, I think. So I understand that logic. The matchups was there. Cash in the pregame show was just, we want to get him a look early against McCullers. And I'm so big on the leadoff hitter in their first at bat of the game. I think that can really set the tone for a lot of stuff. And first pitch, didn't even get a chance to work on at bat. The first pitch just ran into him and hit him. And again, we kind of knew what was going to happen at that point. Brandon Lau struck out in a bad at bat, and then the hopes start to go back down, and then Arozarena comes up and hits a 2-run shot. The distance was 416 feet to right center, and that made it 2-0, with just 1 out in the first, and a lot different than the Game 7 the last time around, where the Red Sox got on the board in the first inning, and I think it was only midway through the game, Willie Ibar hitting a home run, and they win 3-1. But the final score was just about the same, a 2-run game, nevertheless. Margot ends up going 0 for 2, a walk, a strikeout. Again, the hit by pitch was the biggest part of that. Brandon Lau, Frustrating as all hell, as he always is. The strikeouts. I'm not going to get too deep into this right now. We've got about 30 minutes left on the show, and I want to spend that talking, more about Rays Dodgers. But I guess we can kind of track that as the World Series goes on. It's not going to get any easier for Lau. Let's be honest. He does not need to be batting second. He needs to be batting fifth or sixth, like he was, I think, in Game 6, actually. And I understand in Game 7, you want your best guys at the top of the order, and that's what he does, and that's fine. But World Series, Game 1, I would like to see him, and they may want righty-lefty against Kershaw at the top, but I would rather have him batting fifth, to be totally honest with you. Rosarena bats third in Game 7, goes 1 for 4. Again, that home run, if the ALCS MVP wasn't already clinched in his favor, it was certainly at that point. Austin Meadows, the DH, goes 0 for 4. So again, that Austin Meadows Brandon Lau pairing, they combine in Game 7 to go 1 for 8 with 3 strikeouts, and one's a 2-hitter and one's a 4-hitter. So I don't love those guys batting at the top. Cash did it. It ends up working out just fine. Ji-Man Choi, he's been absolutely fantastic. He always works a walk. He always gets on first base when they need a base runner. He goes 3 for 2 with a walk. So reaches base 3 out of the 4 times he comes to the plate. In Game 7, Ji-Man Choi is cementing his legacy as one of the better Rays of all time at this point. I mean, he's only been with the team midway through 2018, and when he came over from the Milwaukee Brewers in exchange for Brad Miller. But fans love him. He's come up in big moments. The ALDS last year, I'll remember him and the defensive plays, and really in this ALCS, the diving plays that he's made at first. I mean, I guess he's kind of a meme that he's kind of a big guy, but he can do splits, and it's fun. But it's not just fun. It's not just a joke. I mean, he legitimately saves base runners because Joey Wendell, Willie Adames, we love those guys. Those throws to first aren't always so good, and if it was Yandy Diaz in there at some of those times, or maybe even Mike Brasso, those balls might not have been picked out of the dirt. But Ji-Man Choi, he's just so good at that. And he's always so loose and ready for any moment. So he was huge in this Game 7, as I imagine he would be. Walked in the first inning, singled in the 6th, singled in the 8th, and those were both in innings where the Rays had multiple base runners, so that was huge. Willie Adames, 0 for 2 with 2 walks, and that's basically what he's been. Worked some good at-bats, did strike out twice as well, but, he's your shortstop. If the Rays have a mini dynasty thing going on, as I have to knock on the wood again, Adames is our Derek Jeter. I mean, that's just what it is. And there was a caller, I think, a couple weeks ago, and we had a good conversation about Wander Franco and where he would potentially fit in. To me, that's like the Yankees. Willie Adames is our Derek Jeter. He's your shortstop. The hotshot youngster, Wander Franco, comes in, and I honestly think, although I think he's come up through the minors as a shortstop, he'll end up playing third base in the big leagues if they can keep Adames and Franco. The caller we had that night also pointed out that the defensive metrics weren't necessarily in Franco's favor anyway, so Adames will never play third. I mean, he's a shortstop. That's what he is, and he's great at it. So in Game 7, gets on base twice. That's a plus, especially batting 6th. That allows you to kind of do things with your lineup, which is nice. Joey Wendell, 1 for 4. That's a Joey Wendell game. Made some good plays at third. Mike Zunino got the home run. I think in a season that will end up being really remembered. I mean, this is the Rays at this point, I believe, have played. This is their 22nd season. They've only made the World Series twice, including this year. So this will be. I think 2008 will always be, unless the Rays even if the Rays win the World Series, I think 2008 will always be the most memorable because of everything that went into it. But at a Rays team that will be remembered forever, I think the relationship that Rays fans have with Mike Zunino is one of the more unique things that I've seen following sports, Tampa Bay sports specifically. Just in that everyone hates him ever since he came in. I mean, I remember
early 2019. I mean, it took him a while to even get his first hit. I mean, he had the triple zeros in the batting average there for a while. And he doesn't work good at bats. He strikes out a lot. He doesn't see the baseball well, but he can run into one occasionally, and that's what I told you guys coming into this postseason. He crushes bad pitches. If you leave a fastball like middle away or kind of up and away, but not with conviction, he'll crush it. He's a big dude. He's got a powerful swing, but just can't really line it up a lot. He's come through in a big way this postseason in a way that a Rays catcher never really has, and I think he's been great behind the plate. I know he had that one game, I think Game 6 with the 3 pass balls, but if you know a lot about baseball, I think he was on one knee to frame pitches. I don't want to get too far into the logistics of that, but I think I did on my last broadcast actually. So Zunino, he's been huge. He goes 1 for 2. With a home run, also knocks in another run. That was a sac fly in the 6th to make it 4-0. So Arozarena knocks in 2. Zunino knocks in 2. There's your 4 runs. I mean, and really those 2 guys have been I'm almost gonna say the top 2 offensive producers. It's so weird to say that about Mike Zunino, but it's really just been the case. And then batting 9th, Kevin Kiermaier. I thought that he would be good to go and that they wanted to bat him 9th to kind of get him on base, maybe steal a base for Margot and allow and Arozarena, whatever. Not it ended up being the case. I realize why they did it. Kevin Cash, if he has an automatic out, if he has to have one, he always bats him 9th. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think there can be a lot of value in the 9 spot. They put Wendell in there occasionally, and it's really worked out. I think just for the reason I gave you, if they get on base and you turn the lineup over, why wouldn't you want your best hitters hitting with men on base? That makes more sense to me. But Kiermaier, he didn't swing in a 3-pitch strikeout looking in his first time up, and it looked like because it was a wrist issue that basically I thought watching that they weren't going to let him swing or that he wasn't going to swing at all. And he was just going to go up there and take a 3-pitch strikeout every time, but he's so valuable in center field that in a Game 7, you take the defense, and you go with it. He ended up swinging a couple times, but goes over 3 with 3 strikeouts. I mean, Kiermaier already is struggling offensively. I don't know if this is for the series or for the postseason. I see a 167 for average. It's been rough, but he's made legitimate run-saving plays in center field, and that's reason enough to keep him in the postseason and especially in the World Series. I know Kevin Kiermaier is one of the more well-known Rays, I guess, in national circles. I guarantee you he's going to be getting a lot of the spotlight. Not as much as, Mookie Betts, but Kiermaier will certainly get his moment. And I know he's a big game guy, a big moment guy. Obviously, that 3-run homer in the ALDS last year is one of my favorite moments as a Rays fan. Obviously, as I said, I wasn't around for that, 2008 to 2011 kind of mini dynasty there with Joe Madden. So I'm of the Kevin Cash hopefully mini dynasty. So that hopefully will end up working out. They went 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position. Both of them were with Wendell at the plate, which was really bizarre. I'm trying to find out. Yeah, it came in the 6th. It was a fly out to right with 2 men on. And then in the 8th, he grounded out for the 3rd and final out with 2 men on again. So tough break for Wendell there. 1 for 4, whatever. Charlie Morton, 5 2/3. I got to hurry this up. 66 pitches. He gave up a single in the first, so that put it out of reach any kind of no-hit bid. But then after that, a 1-2-3 in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and got an out in the 6th. That's where the 14 straight men retired. And it was just really, really easy for him. I mean, he had a couple 7 or 8 pitch innings, and what I loved seeing that, you guys know how critical I've been of Blake Snell and just whatever with him. He just doesn't want to throw strikes, and I'll get, if this series goes long, I'll probably get 2 more nights during this postseason run to get on my little soapbox here and complain about that again. this is a really big night, or not Monday night specifically, but a really big moment for Rays fans going into this World Series. So, not to take away from that, but my point in saying that was it was so big to see Charlie Morton. What I love about him is, he's one of those guys. He realizes, he does have overpowering stuff at times, but he's not afraid of contact off of his pitches because he knows more times than not it'll be weak contact. He's got a fastball that moves, a cutter, I think, that moves the other way, and then that sweeping curveball that is just devastating. And he was working that, especially to right-handers, the pitch that was working. I want to say it was the fastball, or it might be the cutter, actually. I'm not super great with pitch ID, but it would, righty on righty, the pitch would start out on, basically the left side. It would be basically in the left-handed batter's box, and then all of a sudden it cuts into the middle part of the plate, and each time basically he threw it, it was a taken strike against right-handed hitters, and that's just it's a knee-buckling pitch, and then when you get the hitter looking for that, then you hit him with the curveball in the dirt, and he goes and chases it. He ends up getting 6 strikeouts over about 6 innings. That's not bad either. A huge start. I think, obviously, with the biggest, really, like I said, the biggest game since 2008. And Charlie Morton, a guy that will always be remembered, I think, in Rays history as that kind of guy, whether he's with the team for 2 years or for 3, whether he gets a ring or 2 or not, that will remain to be seen. Nick Anderson came on to clean up a bit of a mess for Morton in the 6th inning. Charlie, he got through 5 perfect, essentially with, 1 base runner through 5 innings. Came out in the 6th, struck out Josh Reddick, the 8-man, then walked Martin Maldonado, a 4-pitch walk. And he had been really good with control. He hadn't thrown a ball really at all for the last couple innings. Which is amazing. And then just a 4-pitch walk, couldn't find the zone, and when we previewed that happens every time. He just loses his control, and it takes him a while to get it back. And I think Kevin Cash knew that. Obviously, he's a smart guy. So 1 on, 1 out, back to the top of the order. It was George Springer, fielder's choice, so they got Maldonado out at second. So it's a man on first with 2 out. Jose Altuve coming up. And Altuve hits basically an infield single on a full count to make it 1st and 3rd with 2 outs. And obviously at that point in the game, it would have been 3-0 in favor of the Rays with runners at the corners. Again, 2 out. The tying run in Michael Brantley at the plate. Brantley had singled off of Morton already. I think I want to say Brantley against Anderson in that series was 0-for-1 with a walk, I believe, because I checked it on my scorebook. So they end up going with Nick Anderson, and he ends up getting that matchup, gets Brantley there to retire the side in the 6th and leave those 2 men on. And then he ended up getting through the 7th, gave up a couple singles, but got the double play ball to get out of it, and the double play was humongous, again, for the Rays, of course. And then got 2 outs, I guess, in the 8th. Yeah. So, and then again, it was Pete Fairbanks that had to kind of get Anderson out of a jam. So kind of like it has been with his bullpen, kind of pushing it down the line, and it worked. Pete Fairbanks and then came out in the 9th and basically got a 1-2-3 inning save for a single from Gurriel. And another anticlimactic moment. I remember the clincher in Game 5 against the Yankees. It was the ground ball or the liner to Wendell at 3rd, and the cameras didn't even catch up in time, and we didn't know if it was a ground ball or a line out. And then it was like, okay, the Rays are going to the ALCS. And then this time it was a first pitch, just like a routine lazy fly ball. Obviously the 2008 clincher was a lot more exciting. The 1-0 to Lowry, as it, the call from Dave Wills will always be remembered. And how cool was it that Andy Fried got to call this one? I don't know if they set that up on purpose, but deservedly so. Dave Wills gets to call a pennant clinching play, and Andy Fried gets to call the second. Just take a minute to talk about them because As a person myself, I do this show to kind of train for a sports broadcasting career, but I really want to do baseball play-by-play. Dave and Andy are guys that I look up to. Ever since I started watching the Rays every day in 2018, I would listen to them on the radio instead of the telecast. Dwayne Stats and BA are great at what they do, but Dave and Andy are just unparalleled. They've been with the Rays since 2005. So obviously those were some not good years, and then 2008 obviously was huge for really just the entire city, the whole Tampa Bay area really. And then they go again in 2010, and 2011 was an unbelievable ride. Get the wild card in 2013, and then Madden leaves, and it's another rebuilding phase. I know there was some not so great years under Kevin Cash, and then to finally get back to this place. Last year seemed like the Rays were still a bit of a step away, although I think that 2019 team is going to be extremely underrated. I mean, that team was really well constructed in so many ways, with Tommy Pham and Avisail Garcia and Travis d'Arnaud. A lot of guys that weren't long-term players, but for that one season were really, really good. Tommy Pham will probably hold the record for most games reached base safely on the Rays. I know a lot of people don't like him. He rubbed the fans the wrong way. Not that this is a Tommy Pham show, but really cool for everyone involved. A Rays fan myself, this is, again, the first kind of AL pennant that I've been a part of, the first ring that goes on my finger, if you will, aside from the Tampa Bay Lightning getting it, and who knows what the Bucks will be up to. So, of course, not sticking with my plan at all. I've spent 45 minutes talking about Game 7 and whatnot, not talking too much about the World Series, but we will do that. What we're going to do right now is we're going to take another quick break, about a minute and a half or so, come back, tell you, we'll talk about World Series as a whole, and then we'll wrap the show with Game 1. So we'll be back in a couple minutes. Don't touch the dial.
Hey, sports fans! William's currently in the can, but he'll be right back. We're currently on a commercial break, so don't touch that dial. Remember, you can call us at 352-639-0036 or drop us a line on Twitter at WHBCStream to tell us what's on your mind. We want to talk sports. We want to get unruly. We want you to tell us what you think so we can argue. Anyway, when all that's said and done, please stay tuned for William's world-famous Around the XFL podcast and other projects that he's currently got in the works. Please visit WHBCStream.com, and thanks again for listening in.
Sports Radio 1019 FM. Sports Radio 66. Sports Radio
HBC. And at 9:53, we are back on the William Haynes Show. Again, number to call if you want to call in and talk Rays, how they face up against the Dodgers, whatever. 877-566-1020. We have a line open for you currently. I want to start off with this, just some odds. I don't know whether you're a Vegas guy or not. I think there's always some things to take away. What do the sharps think? The Rays are plus 175, so that's underdog. Basically, if you bet $100 on the Rays to win the World Series and they do win, you would win $175. For the Dodgers, they're minus 200. So basically, if you bet, you would have to bet $200 to win 100. So the Dodgers actually quite heavily favored. And then if you're into this, the Rays basically 7-4 odds to win the World Series, and Los Angeles Dodgers are 1-2 odds. So basically, I guess that means what, a 50% chance that I guess Vegas thinks the Dodgers win. I don't know. Those are more confusing. Exact series outcomes: Dodgers 4-2. So in 6 is 13-4. Dodgers 4-1 is 15-4. So a little bit more of a long shot. The Dodgers in 7 is 17-4. So even more of a long shot. So that is a bit strange to me. The Rays in 7 is 23-4. The Dodgers sweeping is 7-1. The Tampa Bay Rays winning in 6 games, 7-1 as well, and the Tampa Bay Rays winning 4-1 is 12-1 odds. And then the total game in series, whatever it's worth, 4 games is 23-4, 5 games is 13-5, and then both 6 and 7 games are 2-1 odds. I mean, this series is probably going to go 6 or 7, I would imagine. I saw. It's been floating around a lot on Twitter. A lot of people have been kind of retweeting it and whatnot. I think it was like 2016. This guy tweeted it out, something like that. I won't be able to find it in time. Maybe it was, I think it was like 2016 or so. Someone tweeted out, in 2020, the Tampa Bay Rays will win the World Series over the Los Angeles Dodgers 4-2. So that stuff is really weird. I remember the Chicago Cubs, when they won it in 2016, someone had tweeted out, and it was a Rays fan. It's at Rays fan Gio, which I'm not familiar with him, but just that he's a Rays fan. In 2014, he tweeted out, in 2016, the Chicago Cubs will win the World Series in 7 games over the Cleveland Indians, and that the game would go to extra innings in Game 7, and the Cubs would win it, which is really, really strange, a really outlandish prediction, maybe some time traveling going on. So anytime we see that, I mean, if the tweet was 2016, just to predict that the Rays and Dodgers would be playing in the World Series is a pretty good pick, because the Rays' outlook at 2016, I mean, that it's a completely different team. I mean, the Rays tore it down, so to predict that is, a bit interesting. So make of that what you will. If I guess the joke is, if the Rays end up winning 4-2, get your lottery numbers from him. So we'll certainly see. I would not be surprised. To me, that would make sense. Vegas thinks that LA's the favorite, and that's fine. I prefer it that way, for the Rays to be the underdog. It seems like they'll probably play more loose, hopefully. I don't know. I think they were the favorite. They were favored over the Astros, and I don't know. It seemed like they didn't necessarily handle that too well. They won it in 7 games, so ultimately you take that. But it's going to be a challenge, just like it was in 2008 against the Phillies. That was a Phillies team that I think went to 2 or 3 straight World Series, and they were National League really contenders for a long stretch there. I mean, Chase Utley, Ryan Howard. That team had Doc on it. I'm blanking on the name, but the starting pitcher, Roy Halladay is who I meant to say, and all those guys. So Dodgers team that is hungry for a World Series. I think it's been since the 80s since they won it. It's their 3rd World Series appearance in 4 years. A lot different team than I think it was in 2017, 2018, to be honest with you. I mean, Bellinger has transformed into a National League MVP type. Mookie Betts is a guy that's already won an MVP award, and he's been electric since donning the Dodger blue. And then their lineup is just full of guys that just slug the baseball, as I'm trying to dig up their roster here. I mean, I'm just 1 through 9 again. It's a really tough lineup. In no particular order. I mean, Corey Seager, I know, hit like 4 home runs, I think, in that series, 4 or 5 home runs. He's going off. Justin Turner, Max Muncy, Bellinger, Betts, Jock Peterson. I know even Will Smith had a home run off of another Will Smith pitcher. That was pretty cool. But they've got guys. I think the DH helps them as well, because they've got a lot of kind of guys that play the same positions, and the DH just allows them to get an extra one in the lineup. Again, they're all, pretty much power bats, but, again, the guys that I'm most familiar with, I mean, Kike Hernandez I know as well, Muncy, Seager, Turner, Bellinger, Betts, Peterson, and that was probably, 6 or 7 names that I listed off, so that's the majority of the lineup. But guys that I think are working good at bats, I don't know, Edwin Rios, Chris Taylor, AJ Pollock, so that they've got some other pieces as well. And then the pitching is a little bit curious. Starting pitchers, expect to see, we're going to see Kershaw in game 1. Walker Buehler, it looks like we'll see in game 3. I know Tony Gonsolin got a start. Brusdar Gratterall, I think, has come in mostly out of the pen as I'm just looking down. Dustin May is been kind of an opener, and then Julio Urias. He closed out game 7 for, I think, 2 or 3 innings of work, but he's been a pretty good starter for them, and then Alex Wood as well. So they do have guys. The bullpen, I think, they've got names, but I know we have a Rays fan, or rather, well, he is a Rays fan, but also a Dodgers fan as well that listens to this program. And I know his big bugaboo with the team is the bullpen, and I was looking at the box scores for the NLCS, and it certainly has been the case. To me, and we'll go through game by game, they're guys, Pedro Baez, Blake Trinan, and Kenley Jansen. Those are the 3 guys that you'll see a lot. But they also have Joe Kelly, who I'm sure you're all familiar with the throwing at the Astros this year. Got Adam Kolarek, the former Ray. I remember him fondly. Dustin May is a weapon out of the pen where he can start a lot. And then to me that's really it. Blake Trinan is kind of been the wild card in that. He's blown, I think, a couple of games, but he's also gotten out of some really big spots as well. So I think he's going to be kind of the make or break for them out of the bullpen. It's certainly the weakness of their team. The strength, I would say, easily is the lineup, and more so the hitting for power part. By all indication, it looks like they probably play pretty decent defense. Seems more like in the outfield. They've got plus guys with Bellinger and Betts, and Bellinger looks like may have some sort of a shoulder injury. We'll see on that. I'm sure he'll play, but and then the infield is pretty much, to me, it looks just a lot of power bats. And then the Rays counter that with a really good starting pitching staff, mainly the 1-2-3, but also Yarbrough can do some damage. Note that there will be off days finally, which is great. Really good to see with that. 5 games in 5 days, and then an off day, and then 7 games in 7 days. Obviously not easy on the team. Traditional off days. There's going to be 2 games, Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday is off day, then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, off day again, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, assuming that the series goes 7 games. So it could be quite literally, I guess, like a 7 or 8 day series with the 2 off days. So we'll see how that ends up going. I don't know. Official prediction, you got to go Rays. I would expect probably, in 6 or 7 games. It's not going to be a sweeper in 5 games. This Dodgers team has got all the momentum. I know the manager, Dave Roberts, after the game when, he's accepting the National League pennant in whatever trophy it's called, and, we're going to win it this year, blah, blah, blah. I know the Lakers won it, so LA is trying to get their own little title town thing going on. So they've got momentum on their side, coming down 3-1, but I think the Rays proved to themselves in that Game 7 that the moment isn't too big for them, that they kind of let that series get away. And then there was a lot of talk that games 4, 5, and 6, the Rays just the vibe around the team wasn't so good. Just people inside the hotel and stuff we're talking about. But the day of Game 7, they were a lot more relaxed, like they were when they were dominating. So for whatever reason, which is inexplicable to me, you think if any time you tighten up, it would be in Game 7. But if that's when they're most relaxed, more power to them. I know, this team, ever since, again, 2018, when this little run got started, when they cleaned house, Longoria, Steven Souza Jr., Dickerson, I'm blanking on some of the other guys, starting pitcher that went to the Twins. I don't know why I can't remember his name, but cleaned house. Everyone thought we were going to be terrible, win 90 games. It was because of bullpenning and winning close games and kind of hitting when it matters most. So that's what this team is built on, and I like that matchup. Obviously, you're not going to be able to quiet these bats. I honestly would say I would rather face this Dodger lineup than that Braves lineup. Are you kidding me? The way the Braves are playing right now, they had Acuna, Freddie Freeman, Marcelo Zuna took on a different form in October, just going off the walls crazy, and then they've got Obviously, Travis d'Arnaud batting cleanup, which, I mean, he's just a dog. He's been balling out with the Braves. He's just, man, he's a real player for sure. And then they've got some other guys in that lineup that are really good as well. So I'm not upset that we're not going to face those, but the Dodgers, obviously, no slumps in their own right. Just to take a little bit deeper dive in the bullpen, or I guess the pitching, because the lineup, we pretty much know what it's going to be. I mean, it looks like Bellinger, for whatever reason, I mean, he's batting more towards the bottom of the order, which to me is surprising. He hit the game-winning home run in Game 7, so who knows if things will change accordingly, but he's a guy that'll bat 6th or 7th. Betts is going to lead off. I mean, Seager will be up there, Turner, Muncy, all that stuff. So, can't really control that. By all indications, though, well, they do have a good righty-lefty mix. I'll give them that. Muncy, Seager, and then Bellinger are lefties, and then the righties, or Jock Peterson is lefty as well, and then the real righties, you got Betts, Turner, Taylor, and Kike Hernandez. So they've got a really good righty-lefty mix as well, which I was not necessarily aware of. But Game 1, Dodgers and Braves, I'll just go through all 7 games. The Dodgers lost 5-1, but it was 1-1 in the 5th. Braves didn't score until the 9th, so pretty high leverage spot. Buehler for 5, Gratterall for 1, scoreless. Dustin May for an inning and 2/3 scoreless. Blake Trinan took the loss, only got an out and gave up 3 runs. So that was where Trinan definitely went on the hot seat. We look to Game 2. Braves win 8-7. It was the Braves. They took a 7-0 lead, and then the Dodgers got the tying run at 3rd and left them there. So that was a really interesting game. So not really high leverage spots for the Dodgers pitching at any point. Gonsolin got lit up 4 1/3 of 5 runs. Nothing really standing out. I mean, Alex Wood came out of the pen, an inning and 2/3 of a run. Kolarek, an inning and a run. So no real takeaways there necessarily. Game 3, the Dodgers went 15-3, and they had scored 11 runs in the first inning, and by the 3rd, it was 15-0. So no high leverage spots. Urias went 5 of 1 run. Kenley Jansen came on in the 6th, which is awfully early. Pedro Baez for 1, Alex Wood for 1, Adam Kolarek for 1. So again, those are their guys. Baez, Trinan, and Jansen, but they'll also mix in Kolarek and I guess Alex Wood a little bit as well. So non-competitive really there, 15-3. Game 4, Braves win 10-2. Looking at the score, Dodgers went up 1-0 in the 3rd. Then after 6, it was 7-1. Yeah, so not a high leverage spot. Kershaw, 5 innings of 4 runs. Gratterall got lit up as well, an out, and 3 runs allowed. Yeah, nothing really there for sure. Game 5, Dodgers win 7-3. Braves go up 2-0 after 2. It was 4-2 after 6 in favor of the Dodgers, and after 7 innings, it was 7-2. So, and they were down, I think, at that point, 3-1. So it was a must-win game for them. Dustin May got the start, and he gave them 2 innings. Joe Kelly got an inning. Trinan got the win, 2 scoreless innings, so he came through. Baez an inning. Jansen closed it out. Gratterall also with an inning in there as well. So you're kind of what I'm trying to do is kind of get those names that keep coming up into your head, so you kind of know who to look out for. Game 6, 3-1 in favor of the Dodgers. So finally a close game. Dodgers went up 3-0 after the first inning, and that was it. So a real safe situation from the get-go. Walker Buehler, 6 innings, scoreless. Trinan an inning of a run. Pedro Baez, a scoreless inning, and Kenley Jansen, a scoreless inning in the save. So, again, that's how they lock down. It's going to be Trinan, Baez, and Jansen, pretty much, and all those guys are certainly gettable. And then Game 7, Dustin May started an inning of a run. Braves went up 2-0. Then tied after 3. Tied again in the 6th, and then the Dodgers took the lead in the 7th. So, and it was just furious all the way down the line, locking that game up. After the 1 inning from May, then Gonsolin got 2 innings of 2 runs, so not great either for him. Trinan 2 scoreless, so Trinan really came on late. Another scoreless inning for Gratterall, and then the starting pitcher turned reliever in Game 7, Julio Urias, 3 innings scoreless to finish the game. I mean, again, he'll probably start a game, but again, came out of the bullpen in a crucial Game 7, and that's really all they had. It looks like starting and pitching matchups that we have right now, the Dodgers have kind of been playing the cards a little bit close to the vest, but it'll be Glasnow v. Kershaw tomorrow. We know Snell will be on the mound for the Rays. We really don't know for the Dodgers. For Game 3, it will be Charlie Morton, it looks like, against Walker Buehler. So some really good starting pitching matchups early. I don't really have much else to say. I mean, looking at the bullpen as well, just the way they match up, just those guys that I mentioned. Trinan is a righty. Joe Kelly's a righty. Kenley Jansen is a righty. Gratterall is a righty. Pedro Baez is a righty. So, and they don't really have those guys, again, that came in big spots. They're all righties. The only guys, looks like the only lefty guys that'll be coming out of the pen, Adam Kolarek, Jake McGee, who we didn't say a lot of. Kershaw is lefty and could come out of the pen at some point in the series. Victor Gonzalez is lefty. So they're limited on left-handed arms. So there could be a lot of, like a lot of Mike Brasso types coming off the bench, a lot of right-handed guys, however many of them there may be, to pinch hit. And then, whatever. With the starting pitchers, it looks like a good amount of lefties, to be honest with you. Buehler's a righty. We know Kershaw's a lefty. Dustin May is a righty. Urias is a lefty. Alex Wood is a lefty. So mix and match there. And so a lot of different lineups, but wouldn't expect anything else. So that's really all I can say about that. Again, my official prediction, I'll go Rays in 6 games. I can't do another Game 7. I would love if they win Game 7 of the World Series. That would, that's one of the biggest moments in sports. But Hart can't take another do or die game. But I think the pitching staff will be able to, the old adage in football, you can't stop them, you can only hope to contain them. So I think that'll kind of be the Rays' mindset. It'll be their motto. There's going to be home runs in this series, and you just kind of have to let that go. Try and keep it to solo shots, and that was the big deal with the Yankees and a little bit with the Astros. A lot of those multi-run homers come with men on base, mostly due to walks, it seems like. When you walk men, especially towards the bottom of the order, which has been something the Rays struggle with, you got to get the bottom of the order out, because if you don't, the top hitters will come on with men on base. It's going to be Betts and Seager is probably going to be the 1-2 punch, but then you can't ever relax, because you let men on, and then you got a guy like Bellinger that could be batting 5th or 6th, so you can't really let up. So with that being said, and then again for the Rays offense, it's going to be they'll get runners on first base via the single or via the walk. Can they move them over? Can they hit with runners in scoring position? They've shown that they haven't been able to do that, especially in the postseason. They've gotten by with some home runs, really, which is not really what this team is built to do. So will that keep working out, or will the luck run dry? We'll have to see. With that being said, going into this game, it will be Kershaw against Tyler Glasnow for Game 1. We know Tyler Glasnow 5-1 in the regular season with the 4.08 ERA. So far during the postseason, he is no decision. He's 2-1 in the postseason, but he pitched 2 1/3 scoreless in Game 5 against the Yankees as well in a start. So he's been very good. 19 1/3 innings of 10 runs. So currently a 4.66 postseason ERA this year. And for Clayton Kershaw, he was 6-2 in the regular season with a 2.16 ERA. So far in the postseason, he's pitched 19 innings of 7 runs, so count that for a 3.32 ERA. He had 8 innings scoreless against the Brewers in that wild card series, 6 innings of 3 runs in that NLDS in the sweep against the Padres, and he only appeared in one in a best of 7. Kershaw only had 1 start. I know because he got scratched. I think his first start was in like Game 4, and they didn't have to bring him into relief, I guess, thankfully for the Dodgers. A 5-inning start against the Braves of 4 runs, and I just want to take a peek at that one, and then I have something else stored. Looks like for the Braves, Osuna was 4 for 5, Alabi's 2 for 4, Freeman 2 for 5, Acuna 2 for 4. So it looks to me, I mean, obviously it makes sense. Right-handed hitters against the lefty Kershaw were doing some damage. I did a little bit of a case study because I was curious. We've heard a lot about playoff Kershaw not being good, and I looked at it, and I'm not quite sure what his postseason ERA is, but I looked over the course of the season. I think he's kind of been a good postseason pitcher. I mean, it seems like in the big moments maybe he drops a dud, but a lot of like 6-7 inning games of only a couple of runs allowed. He's a guy that I think has multiple Cy Young awards to his name. I mean, he's he's had seasons where I looked, he went like 8 innings. I think he went complete game, like 3 straight starts in a regular season at one point. Like, he's just that guy. He's 32 years old now, so certainly, I don't know, I guess still in his prime. The nasty curveball, fastball that I don't think the velocity is necessarily there, and I'm sure he's got some other pitches that he works off of that. I just haven't watched a lot of Kershaw. And that leads me to my next point. The last time that we saw Clayton Kershaw face the Tampa Bay Rays, that was in 2019. In fact, came on May 21st of 2019. This Rays team is a lot different then, but I wanted to just look at it because we have seen Kershaw recently. That game was in the Trop, and again, early in the season. We ended up going to LA late that season. I believe we might have played Buehler, and I'll get that when we preview Game 3, which is when Buehler will play, and he'll pitch against Charlie Morton. But Kershaw in that game, again, May 21st, 2019, 6 1/3 of 2 runs, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. The lineup that he faced, and this will take you back: Meadows, Pham, Choi, Avi Garcia, Travis d'Arnaud, Lau, Daniel Robertson, and a bottom 2, I think I messed that up, of Heredia and Adames. Got into a little bit of trouble, I guess, in the 7th inning. That's where the Rays scored all 3 of their runs. It was the bottom of the order doing some damage. Adames, infield single, scores Robertson. Meadows RBI single, Pham double. So, again, more right-handed hitters doing damage against him. Meadows was 2 for 5 in that game, and again came through against Kershaw. So, obviously, I still lefty on lefty. I'd imagine we'll still see him in some form or fashion in the lineup. Another thing to note as well, we don't know what the World Series roster is going to look like. I'm pretty sure it's not due, obviously, until some point tomorrow. So we don't know if it'll be Brett Phillips, if they're gonna go, because he was out of the ALCS roster. So if they want to have him, or they just want to have like an extra pitcher like they did this time around. I don't think they're gonna add an extra catcher or anything like that, especially with the off day. So I think the roster is relatively gonna stay the same. Meadows, I would imagine he'll be in the lineup. Looking for Choi was 0 for 4 in that game. Kiermaier had a pinch hit. I don't know what inning that was in. Brandon Lau 0 for 4, and Adames 1 for 4 with that RBI single. So, small sample size for sure, and just another thing to take you back. Hunter Wood opener, 2 innings scoreless, 4 2/3 of 5 runs from Jalen Beeks, 2 outs from Rowe, and an inning and 2/3 from Adam Kolarek. Just what a wild ride 2019 was. Again, what a fun season. So I don't know, make of that, again, what you will. Glasnow, his last time out against the Houston Astros. What game was that? A 4-3 loss. That was game 4. 6 runs on 4 hits, 2 solo shots, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. So not the greatest start, but got some length some much needed length. He's got a 5-inning start against the Yankees of 4 runs and a 6-inning start against the Blue Jays of 2 runs in this postseason. So expect more of the same. Again, the Dodgers lineup mixes righty-lefty very well, so it's going to be a challenge for Glass now in that perspective. A lot less pressure on the starting pitchers because the off days will allow for, some more aggressive bullpenning. Again, you can pitch Nick Anderson in Game 2, knowing that he'll be ready for Game 3 because of the off day between them, that kind of stuff. So, Glass now, just get 6 or 7 innings and hold them to the least amount of damage possible. I'd imagine probably 2 or 3 runs, I would imagine. So, everyone's going to be available out of the pen. Game 7 was on Saturday, so they had a couple of off days. I know they were there in Arlington, Texas today. Again, there's going to be some fans there. That'll be cool. The lineup against the lefty Kershaw, that's hard to tell. I guess pencil in all the righties. I would imagine that maybe Diaz and Brasso would be in the starting lineup. So if they did it, I think the last time they faced a lefty, it would be Brasso at third, Adames at short, Lau at second, Yandy Diaz at first base, Zunino to catch, of course. You want a Rosarena in left, Kiermaier in center, either Margot or Renfroe in right, and then Austin Meadows with DH. And then off the bench, you've got mostly lefties. You've got Setsugo, Renfroe righty off the bench, and you also have Choi and Michael Perez if you need to pinch it for Big Z. So I'm not sure what are the lineup. Cash is probably going to stick with what's been quote unquote working, which would be Lau at second, batting second, Rosarena at third. I would love to see him bat leadoff, but he's been doing good at that 4 and 5 spot, so keep him there. Well, actually, no, never mind, because I don't think they're going to give him that lefty on lefty. So actually, let's just spitball it here. Let's say they go aggressive. They go Yandy to lead off because he's been walking a lot, so that makes sense. Batting second, they'll go Brandon Lau. Batting third, Rosarena. Batting cleanup, I'll go Mike Brasso. Batting fifth, sorry, I'm doing this on the fly. Batting fifth, I'll go Manny Margot, I suppose. Batting fifth, I'll go Austin Meadows. Batting sixth, Manny Margot. Batting seventh, Adames. Batting eighth, I hope I went Brasso already. Brasso, and then Joey Wendell. I got that. No, Wendell's out as well. I got it all kind of confused, but you get the top of the order. I always lose myself when I try and do a lineup preview. But again, all I can tell you, probably Yandy to play first, Brasso at third, and then the outfield, the Rosarena, Kiermaier, and Margot, or they go Renfroe and right. But that's kind of what do they call it? Dealer's choice. And then again, Meadows to DH. So you have Setsugo, Renfroe, Wendell, Choi, and Perez off the bench. Everyone available out of the pen. It'll be Tyler Glasnow going for the Dodgers. We'll leave you with that. The Bucks as well. I know this is a Rays kind of thing in October. They did win, what was it, like 31-10 over the Packers. Great win. No penalties in a game, second time in franchise history. At 1983 was the last time after penalties cost them the game just a week ago. So you want to put a number to the Tom Brady effect. It can be quantified, and there you go, no penalties in the game. So we'll be back tomorrow. Race start at 8 o'clock. Glasnow and Kershaw. Game will probably be over at about 11 or midnight. We'll be on the air. Post-game, taking your calls, all that stuff. Rays World Series, Game 1. We'll see you tomorrow.
Sports Radio 101.9 FM and Sports Radio 66. The Fan.
HBC.
News.